In the Philippines, a corruption scandal relating to flood control projects has caused outrage as the nation recovers from two devastating typhoons. In an attempt to quell public anger, President Ferdinand Marcos has vowed to swiftly lock up those implicated. Earlier this year, an investigation commission found flood control facilities that were substandard or non-existent. More than 250 people have died in the Philippines in recent weeks, and parts of the country remain underwater. Here's more of what the President had to say about the corruption scandal.
The Independent Commission for Infrastructure has submitted criminal and administrative cases against 37 individuals that are connected to the irregular flood control projects. Included here are cases for graft and corruption, malversation, falsification, plunder and violation of the code and conduct for public officers. Before Christmas, the cases of many of those named will be concluded, and they will end up in jail.
All right, I'm joined in the studio by DW reporter Anna Santos, who's been following this story for us. Anna, tell us more about the corruption scandal. How deep is it? How far does it go?
Let's first take into context why this became such a scandal about flood control. The Philippines, because of its geographic location, is one of the most disaster-prone countries in the world. And it's ravaged by an average of about 20 typhoons in a year. So, you know, this climate crisis, the Philippines is at the front lines of this, especially since we've seen more typhoons becoming more frequent and more severe. And in this context, it makes sense that flood control projects that are dikes, dams, waterways are meant to save lives, but also in the context of so many typhoons and disasters hitting the country, giving citizens just time to recover from one disaster to another. Now, this corruption scandal, how did this unfold? The government we saw that this corruption was organized and deliberate. There was a chain of corruption that started with legislators inserting budgets for flood control projects in the national budget, and then local officials approving it in cahoots with contractors who were unscrupulous. Each way, Anthony, they were taking a cut from these budgets of flood control projects, resulting in ghost projects or substandard projects. Now, the public is saying that this corruption scandal is just shameless and disgusting. We saw many of the relatives of these government officials and others who were implicated just brandishing their lifestyle and luxury cars and the bags that they own that cost more than a month's rent in an apartment here in Berlin.
Right. We've seen big demonstrations. You talk about the public this year over the scandal.
Yes.
You were in the Philippines when this began to unravel. How has public sentiment changed in that time since you were there?
We saw this beginning to unravel in August when the president called for an investigation into the contractors that had many projects, but they were awarded many projects, but didn't have anything to show for it. Now that's August. In September, we saw this now translating into thousands of people going out into the streets. And Anthony, we saw a temperament, an emotion on the street that you don't usually see in Philippine protests. People were angry, using curse words, calling for the death penalty for those who are implicated and calling for them to be jailed. Now we are in November. People are not happy with the progress of these investigations. And meanwhile, the country has been hit by back-to-back typhoons and an earthquake.
Right.
So people are now saying that those legislators who lined their pockets with money that was meant to protect them through flood control projects now have the grief and the tears of those people who are suffering on their hands.
And are there specific examples of communities that have been flooded in these most recent typhoons that would have been spared if the money was spent as it was intended to be spent?
Yes, I was in a province called Bulacan. It is just outside of Manila, north of the capital of Manila. And I was there in August, and I saw, Anthony, they are flooded nearly every day. So with or without a typhoon, they are flooded. This means daily life for them looks like 4 to 6 hours of rising flood water, during which life stops for them. Simple conveniences like sitting down while working or eating are robbed from them every single day because the water rises above tabletops. So, and then apart from that, they have to think about what they can save from their spare, modest belongings, and also looking out for their safety. Imagine this on a daily basis. So I really saw from the province of Bulacan, which is at the epicenter of the corruption scandal, because they have the most number of flood control projects awarded to them. We really saw how systemic corruption is linked to personal injustice.
All eyes on the president for now and these anti-corruption efforts. Anna Santos, thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you.